In the 1960s, a set of unfair rules called Jim Crow laws were used throughout Birmingham, Alabama. These rules meant that Black citizens were forced to be physically separated from white citizens in almost every part of daily life. While the Black community wanted to protest these rules, they faced a massive threat that kept most adults from marching in the streets. White business owners used a specific trap to stop the movement. They would immediately fire any adult who joined a protest. Without a job, parents wouldn't be able to pay for their homes or buy food for their families. A leader named Rev. James Bevel realized that as long as the adults were afraid of losing their jobs, the movement would stay stuck. He began searching for a way around this economic trap. He eventually realized that for the protest to work, they needed an army of people who didn't have jobs to lose. He turned to children and teenagers. Because kids go to school instead of work, they can't be fired. If they got arrested for marching, their families would still have income they needed to survive. This economic freedom made young people the perfect candidates to lead the protest. They could coordinate a massive movement without putting their parents' paychecks at risk. Parents, let's take a quick pause here so you can discuss this with your kids. To succeed, the organizers had to find a way to get thousands of students to leave school at the exact same time without the police finding out. They used local radio stations to spread the word. DJs would broadcast secret instructions hidden inside their normal radio shows, sending the plan directly into the homes and cars of the students. The secret code told the students that on May 2nd, they should drop their pencils, walk out of their classrooms, and meet at the 16th Street Baptist Church. On that morning, more than 1,000 children, some as young as 7 years old, followed the code and gathered at the church. As the kids marched out of the church in groups, they walked directly toward the police lines to be arrested. Usually, being arrested means a plan has failed, but for this group of children, getting arrested was the secret weapon. The city only had a limited number of jail cells. This diagram shows the strategy. As the wave of children kept marching, jail space disappeared. Eventually, the gauge hit its limit. The jails were completely full, and police had nowhere left to put more protesters. By peacefully filling up every single cell, the children disabled the city's ability to enforce its segregation laws. The police could no longer stop the movement because they had run out of room. Parents, let's take a quick pause here so you can discuss this with your kids. The man in charge of the city's police, Eugene Bull Connor, realized the children had outsmarted his entire force. In a desperate attempt to stop them, he ordered his officers to use high-pressure fire hoses and attack dogs on the unarmed teenagers. But this violence backfired immediately because television news crews were there to film everything. Millions of Americans saw the footage on their news that night. They were horrified to see adults using weapons against peaceful children. People across the country decided to fight back with their wallets. As the news coverage of the violence went up, the city's business profits took a sudden, massive dive. With the city's economy in danger, the local business leaders realized they could no longer maintain the old rules. They finally agreed to meet with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and signed an agreement to end segregation throughout the entire city. The strategy and bravery of these students achieved what the adults could not. They proved that even when you aren't old enough to vote or hold a job, a group of kids can force a city to change its laws and treat everyone equally. Parents, let's take a quick pause here so you can discuss this with your kids.